news, but everything around us is a story. So let's talk about stories today. And any questions that you have, I'm happy to answer.
Rashi has a question.
Yeah.
Rashi is from Lucknow.
Hi.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am, I want to ask, in my family, they are very much afraid. They always used to ask me, will you work on field? Will you work on field? Is it safe? Will you be okay? And all, how will you manage? And it's not a thing that a female can easily do. So I really want to ask you that thing that when you have started your career, obviously the time was back and of course we have moved forward, the thinking have also been moved forward. So back at that time it was more typical, as I think. So how you managed, and was it really that typical to manage everything?
You know, honestly, Rashi, I never faced a problem. Maybe I've just been really lucky. My mother, and you're right, she is a very conservative woman even to date. But somehow when it came to, me doing the job that I did, I think she was just getting excited seeing me on TV. So she never questioned where I went, what I did. Also, I think when we started doing journalism, it was such a new profession. 24 years back, TV journalism was something nobody did. So, and along with all the Ramayana and Mahabharats, we came into people's houses. So I think it was a novelty for people. People liked it. My family was very excited. They thought, star quality here, but coming to your point about whether it is safe or not, it's like, what is safe? You might be out on the road tomorrow and, you can have an accident. There are definitely issues when in some things, if you're covering a riot or recently in Delhi where there were communal clashes, yes, there will be issues. But all media organizations now are very, very careful about, how teams are sent. For us, for instance, even nowadays, the priority is the safety of the team is first. So please tell your parents they don't have to be very worried because, for all of us as editors, as bosses, whatever you might call us, the safety of the team comes first.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, as you said that there's a problem or there's a risk only when you are covering the incidents like riots and everything. So that can be risky for male as well. That is not risky for the female. So why I don't agree with the concept of my people, that my family, that they used to say that you're a girl, that is why it's more risky for you.
I completely agree with you. I suppose your parents come from the point of concern, Rashi, that, I suppose in that very way that, a boy, if he's out, what's going to happen? At the most, somebody may hit him or something like that. With a girl, there are other issues of being assaulted and all of that. So I suppose parents come from a point of concern. But trust me, we're very careful about where we send our teams, who we send, what's the composition of the team. Especially situations like this, reporters are never alone. There are always at least one or two people with them. And like you said, it's a risk for whether it's a boy or a girl. So tell your parents not to be worried.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Next.
So,
somebody's raising their hand.
Yeah, Snigdha.
Young girl.
Snigdha.
good morning, ma'am.
Right,
Hi.
first year. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask, how do you deal with criticism from your friends?
Louder.
Ma'am, how do you deal with criticism from your friends and family? Because personally, I've been facing a lot of criticism at my own house because my opinions and my parents' opinions are like very different. So how do you deal with that? Because I'm having a really hard time dealing with those troubles.
Snigdha, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Snigdha, you agree to disagree. Listen, you're never going to get everybody to, agree. And quite frankly, why should they? I mean, it'll be so boring if we all agree on everything, okay? Where is the discussion? Where is the debate? Disagreement also brings out new ideas, interesting ideas, right? If you look at history, all exciting things, whether it was the Renaissance, anything, it all came because people disagreed, right? A lot of the thing comes from the fact that you have to allow people new ideas, new thinking. So don't bother about it. In fact, at a lot of places, for me, at when one meets family at dinners or even friends at dinners or parties and all, there is loads of criticism. I always smile and say, very good points and all of that.
No, she doesn't. No, she doesn't.
No, I do.
Or she fights it out.
No, there is a difference. I fight it out. For instance, I do have a lot of debates on when, somebody would say that CAA is a good thing, okay? Because that, for me, is a very valid point of argument, okay? It's against the Constitution, so I would debate that. But if somebody says that we don't like NDTV, that's fine, I mean, that's their point of view, and you're allowed to not like something. It's like saying, I don't like this film. Now, you can't take everything personally. If it goes beyond a certain point of time, I just very sweetly say, हाँ, आप कुछ और ही देख लीजिएगा. It's fine. It's okay. It's just, don't bother. There's so much in life. Yeah, just एक कान से अंदर, दूसरे कान से बाहर.
मिथिलेश कुछ भी विश्वास मत करिएगा. Okay. Next, Avni. Avni is from Jaipur. She is.
Hi, Avni.
Hello, ma'am. Now my question is that how difficult is it to interview celebrities? As in, do they throw tantrums, and I mean, what is it to interview a celebrity?
More than throwing tantrum, it is just exhausting waiting for them. I have interviewed many. I remember there was a time with the Shah Rukh Khan interview, we waited 8 hours. He finally landed up at 2:30 in the morning. Okay.
We were there waiting for him.
Yes.
For
8 hours. 8 hours, right? It's just who he is. But so trust me, honestly, a few of them have thrown tantrums. Yes, sometimes. But now, especially the younger lot, this whole Alia, Ayushman lot, they're very well behaved. Time is still an issue. I recently interviewed Deepika, still about 2 hours. And now the thing is, because, and this is not something, but because we're so senior, we also tend to throw a few tantrums. So I think it becomes a very big balancing act for our producers, because they have to tell me a certain time where they know that even though I have to wait, I will not wait for that long. And they have to try and so, but I have to say they are very, very well behaved. They're extremely polite. Unlike earlier, there's no rudeness or whatever. Very, very well behaved. I want to give you an example of, I worked a lot with Mr. Amitabh Bachchan for the telethons. And I have to tell you that it is so incredible to see this man. He's such an icon of the industry. He's over 75 years old. And, we do this telethon where we start at 9 in the morning and very often finish at 9 at night. Right? It's a
the one which was for Save Tigers, the Save Tiger project.
Save Tigers for Swachh Bharat. We do it on 2nd October every year.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes in, we do it largely out of Bombay. He comes in at 8 in the morning, okay? He calls us into his trailer. There are 3 of us who go in to, sort of just go through the whole thing with him once more. He comes out, he's slightly grumpy at that time, okay? And I don't blame him because I am as grumpy at 8 in the morning. He comes out at 8 in the morning, at about 8:15 after getting his makeup and all done in his trailer, after having a chat with us of how the day is going to be. He comes out, he does 3 takes. I have never seen him do more than 3 takes. 3 takes to the camera, just, practice takes. Thak, 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 thak. It's a monologue. We start with him speaking to camera, a monologue for about 2 minutes. And he's ready to go on the 4th take, okay? the only two people that speak to him in his ear are the director. Sometimes I speak to him during breaks. He is amazing. The discipline, and he just sits there throughout. Avni, he sits there for 11, 12 hours. All my other anchors take a break. He doesn't take a break. He only probably goes to the loo once or twice, has food that is got from home. And, very often we do the show on the banks of the Juhu beach. So you can imagine on 2nd October, a show in Bombay out in the open. By 2 o'clock, we are all dying because it's hot, and he's just getting better and better. He just, he keeps all our spirits up. And so once somebody asked him, they said, sir, so he said, "Arey, job hai, karna hai." And he is so good. Like, he peps up everyone. Like, it is amazing. I have never seen anything like it.
Yeah, but he's not doing it for free.
Yeah. No, but come on. I mean, it doesn't matter.
That is
One more thing I'll say, that having talked about Shah Rukh Khan, he'll come 8 hours late, but once he's there, he is a great sport.
Yeah.
So,
he makes the show.
He makes the show.
He makes the show, but yeah, he will come very late. So, and one last thing about, by the way, not just stars. Let me tell you about stars, politicians, sports stars, any kind of celebrity. When they're doing well, as in they've had hit films, or, they have just become a minister, they'll all be arrogant, okay? They will all be arrogant. When they're not doing well, when they've had flops, or when they've lost elections, they'll all be your best friends. They'll be very polite. They'll take all your calls. They'll come to the studio. So it depends on which stage of their life is. But I suppose life is like that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, Kusum.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Ma'am, my question is not just related to journalism. It's generally about writing.
Yeah,
because,
sure.
Since you also have read many of your stories and blogs, ma'am, I personally write a lot, but there is some point of time where I'm just procrastinating to write. I have a lot of ideas on my mind, but I can't just, get it down on a piece of paper or on Word. It happens a lot of times with me that I can't write even if I want to. There are stories that I want to do. So I just want to know how do you keep up your inspiration to write? Because we are in a profession where writing is very important, even if we are working in broadcast or any field, I believe. I mean, that's what Sanjay sir has taught us. Never stop writing.
No, Sanjay is right. And I just have to say that, you have to, Kusum, get a certain amount of discipline. I completely get procrastination. There are times like yesterday, I had to check one half an hour and some 5 stories. And I procrastinated all day. But finally at 4 o'clock, I sat down. But when I sat down, then for about 2 hours, in fact, Sanjay was trying to say something to me, and I was like, shut up and get out of my face. I have to do this. I think you have to get some amount of discipline. And it doesn't matter if you don't know what to write. Just write whatever is coming to your mind. It doesn't have to be the best article. It doesn't have to be the best story, but write. Because slowly and steadily, it will come. But you have to, whatever time you need, just sit for that 1 hour, even 40 minutes is fine, wherever, and write. And write whatever you feel within you. I always feel writing's a lot about, like I say, stories are about what you feel about a situation. So writing has to come from within. So whatever it is, don't think about, oh my God, it's got to be the best sentence, or it's got to be the prettiest of words. But it has to be something that you feel.
Okay. Now, Shishti has raised her hand. Shishti, then Divya, then Aman. Okay. Agastya after that. First Shishti, Divya, and then Aman. Shoot. Shishti,
Okay.
MA final.
Hi.
Hi, ma'am. So, ma'am, my question is related to job. In the morning only, I have seen that there was one survey which is telling that 52% of people will lose their job just because of this lockdown, and MLCs were not going to take out their employees, but there will be a limited edition of newcomers, those who are coming. So what kind of opportunity in media sector, and how we should prepare for ourselves?
You know, it is going to be grim, Srishti. I am not going to lie to you. At least the coming year or 2 years, not just for media, for across all industries, it's going to be a hard time. Because honestly, we don't know the full impact of this lockdown. It is going to be bad because everyone is losing business. I mean, just to give you an idea how media survives, right? We survive on two things. One is subscription. That is, on Tata Sky, you subscribe to NDTV, and a certain amount of what you pay to Tata Sky comes to us. And the other is ads. And a large portion of survival for the media industry in India is because of ads. Now, if every other industry that advertises on us is failing, the first thing that they cut is your ad revenue, right? So they stop advertising, it directly impacts us. Having said that, what I would say is that when this gets over, and remember, we are still essential service providers. So the industry is not going anywhere. Yes, there could be fewer opportunities. I will not lie to you. There could be fewer opportunities, but they will be there. They will be there, and it will get better. So don't worry about where you will get a job. Figure out what is it that you want to do. What kind of journalism or what kind of media you want to do. Whether you want to be a digital journalist, whether you want to go into ads or whatever, and just concentrate on that. The opportunity will come.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Hello, ma'am. Ma'am, like my question is related something different. Have you ever been threatened?
Yes, I have been threatened.
By who?
On a shoot. So, Divya, threats come not just in the fact of someone threatening you physically, which has happened when you're out on a shoot.
Hello.
But threats also come in...
Ma'am, it's like if you have raised your voice against
Yes.
a political leader or someone, like have you been threatened, and
Well,
how did you deal with it?
Well, NDTV, as you know, is threatened all the time, but because the current dispensation doesn't like us very much. You can see the number of cases, but I'll give you a very specific example. I'm not going to name the company. It's a multinational that works in India. And we did a story about a CBI case against them. And the very next day, they pulled off all the ads they had on our channel. And it was a valid story. The story stands to date. They threatened to take us to court. They didn't, because we were right. But they pulled off all their ads. So remember, threats don't just come, from politicians or political leaders. They will come from corporate houses. They could come from individuals. They could come from anybody. And they will come in various forms. But it's something that you learn to live with. It's fine. It's part of the job.
Okay. Aman.
Yes, sir. Hello, ma'am. My question was, we have often seen while rehearsing for anchoring classes or radio shows that not always things go according to our plan. And it might have been in your career as well that things have changed suddenly and there have been unforeseen circumstances. So how important is your backup plans or the second force of command?
It's always good to have a contingency plan. It is always good to have a backup plan that if this doesn't happen, what am I going to fall back on? Having said that, there are going to be times there will be no backup plan and you've just got to go with it. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's anchoring or it's reporting or anything else. But my only advice to everybody, whether it's my reporters, my anchors, to all of you is, don't take it so seriously. As in, for instance, if you're anchoring and you do something wrong, right? Something as simple as looking at the wrong camera, right? You're supposed to look at camera 5, you look at camera 3. On air, just switch and say, oh, sorry, wrong camera, and just switch to camera 5 and continue. It's a live situation. If you don't get, nervous or hysterical or any of or dramatic on air, the audience won't. The whole idea is, and remember, the thing about TV is that you are in people's bedrooms, literally. So it's a very intimate conversation you're having. People are watching you while they're eating, when they're sitting on their bed, when they're talking to each other. You are part of that conversation. So the idea is to have a conversation. I very often tell my anchors, don't read. Because if you're reading, then you're not talking.
Yes, ma'am.
So whether you're reporting or you're anchoring, have a conversation. You're not talking down on someone, you're not lecturing someone, just have a conversation with them. And in a conversation, things go wrong. You may mispronounce something, you may forget something, you may say something wrong, just correct it. Only two things. Have that presence of mind to know what you've done wrong and get it right, but also not, get too hassled about it. It's fine.
Okay. Agastya.
Yes, ma'am. Hello, ma'am. Good morning. Yes. So my question is, my father brought this up a few days ago. He said that news anchors today they just scream. They don't actually give out actual news rather than, blah, blah,
Was
blah.
Was he watching Republic?
No. Anyway, my question is, do you think that this will embarrass the news industry?
I'm saying that it has already embarrassed I think it's embarrassed the nation, as Orna would put it. I think we are sort of the laughing stock of global media around the world. And it's really sad. But to be honest with you, Agastya, to me, and this is a very personal opinion, the shouting doesn't bother me. You can say it's someone's style. The shouting doesn't bother me. The boxes, those 20 boxes don't bother me. I mean, I can choose not to watch it. To me, I think our biggest shame, the shame of not just the media industry, but I think the country, is that certain channels actively spread hatred. They actively spread communal hatred, and that's the problem. It's okay if you want to shout. I mean, people can choose not to watch you. Panelists can choose not to come to your show. It's okay if you want to have 30 people on at a time. That's okay. You just decide that's who you want to be. But when you start to follow a certain agenda actively on divisive lines, that is just wrong. That should be illegal, according to me. And that is my biggest problem. So, and please tell your dad, I apologize on behalf of the entire industry, but the shouting anchors ain't going nowhere.
Oh, okay. We are taking a question from Vaishnavi, which has come on chat. I'll read that. After that, Sayuk. Okay, Sayuk?
Even I have a question.
Okay. So after Sayuk, it would be Anvita. Wait a minute. Let me read Vaishnavi's question. During the time of coronavirus in India, there is a lot of news that is being circulated against Islam. People think that this particular religion is the one which is trying to spread coronavirus, and they are spitting on fruits, and videos are going viral. Some were proved fake, but that proof is not circulated that much in the news. A market in Madurai was also found to be crowded, violating social distancing rules. This news was not circulated that much because many people in the neighborhood don't know about that. So does media project any religion bias? And how can media play a role in removing the religious hatred?
Yes, Vaishnavi, it is sad, but certain channels do project a religious bias. I'm not going to name the channels, but you know who they are, Hindi and English. And I think it is a part of the media to definitely sort of talk about the fact that the disease is not about religion. It is about infection. It is about anyone can get it, anyone can spread it. What happened as far as the congregation, the Islamic congregation in Delhi was concerned, was neglect, both on the part of the Delhi police and possibly the organizers. But the disease has nothing to do with Islam. Yes, it is constantly, currently, constantly certain channels are propagating it as such. Sanjay said something to me the other day, which was very valid. And he said, we need a villain. In India, certain channels need a villain, and they found it. You're absolutely right. It was Ram Navami a couple of days ago, and there were congregations in temples. Parliament was on, by the way, when this Islamic congregation was on. So, I mean, why was Parliament on? There were as many people there. So definitely across the board, there have been offenders or groups that have gotten together, but they have not got the kind of publicity that this has. And it is extremely sad. It shouldn't be done. And again, I can just speak for NDTV and for myself that we're actively trying to put it out there that this is not about religion. It's not about religious hate. This is a disease that all of us have to battle together.
Sayuk.
Ma'am, my question is what is your take on TRP influenced media these days?
My take is, Sayuk, TRPs are very important as much as, they're also a bit warped because, it's a very complicated and technical thing. And I can spend hours speaking to you on it, and I won't do it right now. Separately, anytime I will take you through how Bach works. But TRPs are important very simply because advertisers depend on TRPs to decide how much they want to advertise on you. And, for instance, with us at NDTV, even though at times we have not so great TRPs and all of that, we've built a brand that people come to us anyway. But having said that, across the country, TRPs are important because any advertiser will look at your TRPs and decide how much they want to advertise and what rate they want to advertise on you. So for your business, it is important. Whether it should be TRP linked or not, if you have fair TRPs, I would say absolutely. But currently your TRPs are not fair.
Are flawed. The
flawed
TRP system entirely is flawed.
Yeah, also because, for a very simple thing, even if you don't go into the process of it, for a country of 1.3 billion people, you have some 200 boxes. What are 200 boxes going to tell you about anything?
Yes, ma'am.
So that is the problem. It is so, and Bach said they'll raise it to 30,000 boxes, which is still not done. Even 30,000 is not enough, but well, it was an improvement. So your sample size is so small. What is it telling you? And also remember that now, Bach, for instance, will only measure television. Companies are not just television anymore, they're content providers. For instance, yes, NDTV is largely now viewed on because of ndtv.com. So the content is the same, but the platform on which you're viewing it has changed. Yes, which doesn't mean that people are not watching you. They just may be watching you on their phone, on their laptop. Exactly. So I think the whole process has to change. But again, we're India and we take a lot of time to change things. So,
Anvita.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
So I had a question. I was reading yesterday that in Assam, the Islamic sect people have been into hiding. So they're not coming in front for the medical screening and everything. So now the Assam government has said that if you don't come out, we'll be charging you with the homicide charges. So do you think these charges are right? Should there be any other charges to charge them with? I mean, obviously it's wrong that they're not coming for medical screening, but such charges, don't you think it's weird? I mean,
it is wrong, Anvita, but let me play the devil's advocate here. I think, and here I'm going to side with the government. Maybe it's not. I think a lot of governments will hopefully, I'm not saying possibly, will hopefully not go through with the charges. But I think currently the need of the hour is that you have to test people, especially people that you think have been exposed. So I think governments are going to try everything and anything. Because if you look at what's happening around the world, whether it's Italy or Spain or New York, look at the number of people that are dying. And these are countries that have populations that are equivalent to possibly the population of just Uttar Pradesh alone. Think of the number of people who will die in India and the number of people who can get exposed. So yes, it's too harsh to charge, but I think it's being done to get people out to actively test them. I don't think the central government or state governments will follow through. I think they'll have a lot of other things to deal with. So yes, they're harsh, but I think for now they just need to get people out and test them. So
Thank you.
Next, yeah. Mithilesh has. Wait, Mithilesh hasn't asked a question. Yes,
no. I don't want to ask questions. I had a lot of queries, but I think each and everything has been answered. One thing is how difficult it is for the young journalist to remain unbiased. During this period.
Mithilesh, somewhere I think we're all biased.
Yeah.
Okay.
But to some extent, yeah.
Yeah, to some extent, we all bring a certain bias, which is fine also. But I think you have to actively, and I encourage all my young reporters to actively question themselves. So for instance, and I'll tell you that in our newsroom once, an editor came to me and said, boss, I don't want this person on my team. I just feel he's very right-wing. And I said, this person will stay on your team for the next 1 year now, because you have to learn to listen to him. Because he may be coming from a certain point of view that you should learn to listen to. You may not accept it. You may disagree with it, but you have to hash it out. Because I don't think that anybody is completely wrong or anybody is completely right. I think you have to debate and discuss and somewhere come up with the best solution. So I think everybody is biased, but I think journalists, especially young journalists, I think even old journalists, should constantly question themselves. The minute you think that you know it all is the day that you'll start failing.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
What challenges have you faced in the last 5 to 6 years, considering the transparency in the media sector has declined? Have you faced challenges in covering stories and stuff like that?
Yes, for us, I think the last 5 to 6 years have been very challenging because, the government doesn't like us. It's an open fact. So access is very difficult. We don't get access to government. They don't speak to us. So very often we have to sort of figure out how to get that point of view across. We don't get invited to any for instance, recently the Prime Minister had a meeting with all top editors, print, media, digital, everything. We weren't invited to anything. So yes, covering government is extremely difficult and has been very challenging. Getting access to ministers and government spokespersons has been extremely challenging. And for a news organization, that's very difficult. I wish, Prime Minister Modi was more like Mr. Trump, where he, openly abused us, so we could openly take him on. But he doesn't do that. He just, they just decide not to speak. So it has been very difficult, but we're plowing through.
Okay, I want Muskan, Kirti, one sec, Abni. Muskan and Kirti to think of questions, please. Also, Khushbu, Vignesh, Akansha, think of questions. Okay,
Yeah,
Akansha has a
I
question.
have.
Muskan, wait a minute, we are coming to you. Akansha has a question. Okay, Akansha, go ahead.
Hello, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a question that is there any gender discrimination in mainstream media, or what is gender in mainstream media?
Yeah, there is. It's completely in favor of the women.
It's a very interesting question. Akanksha, what is gender anywhere? I think across the world, and it's a very serious question, it's an interesting question. I think there is still a gender bias towards men across fields. Okay, let's not be, but I think it's part of a legacy that we've all grown up in, wherein somehow, whether it's the fact that men feel comfortable having just men around them, whether they just feel that men are better suited to certain jobs. I'll come to media in a while, and I'll just, For instance, and I'll tell you, a lot of my friends in the corporate sector will tell you that a lot of business is done, over drinks late at night, right? You sit with the bottle, and everyone's drinking, and, business is actually done and deals are cracked. And, maybe men just feel that, they just feel more comfortable having men around. And so I think it's across industries, not just media, that there is a general bias towards men. It's changing, okay? It's changing because I think women are stepping up. Young girls like you are doing a fabulous job. But it's also twofold. I think women, and here I may sound like, sort of like the anti-feminist. I think women also have to, somewhere in very many roles, have to step up. For instance, and I'm not saying families are not important and, kids are not important and, all of that. But I think you also have to realize that you have to balance it out. For instance, if you're putting in, a certain number of hours at work, and your male colleague is putting up, let's say, 4 more hours, it's an automatic thing that your boss is going to think that, oh, let me give it to him, unless, you're super bright and you're finishing your stuff in a certain number of. So I think women have to figure out how to balance that. More than women, their families have to figure out at the back end how much they have to support the women. I mean, whether it's your mothers and fathers, whether it's your husbands or brothers or whosoever, that it can't be that the woman now does the cooking, the cleaning and everything, and then she does, all the work at office. It's just physically not possible. When it comes to media, at NDTV, it is biased towards women, let me tell you.
I wasn't wrong.
We've always been a very women boss heavy organization. We've had a fantastic group of men working with us. We've always been encouraged. My bosses, Pranoy and Radhika, have just always encouraged women to the hilt. So, I've had that advantage. But let me tell you that in other media channels, it's not such, especially in, I think, Hindi media. There is a certain bias towards men. Yes, Kalipuri is now heading India Today and the Ajtak group. So, things are changing, but I think it will take time.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am, as there were many other options like print journalism, radio, so why did you choose TV?
TV?
Yes.
It was really an accident for me, Muskan. Honestly, I didn't know what I was getting into. No, honestly, I had a friend working for Newstrack. I graduated and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had a friend who used to work for Newstrack, which was, you kids weren't even born, but there were these VHS tapes in something called a VCR. Okay, all of you don't know what that is. So it used to be a tape that you put into a VCR, a video cassette recorder, and it would play. And this was India's first video news magazine. So we would produce a 1-hour show once a week. Okay, once a week, it was a 1-hour show we would produce.
When it began, it was once a month.
When it began, it was once a month. Okay, because, oh my God, it was really, we had those old typewriters we would type on. So she just said, why don't you come and work with us? And I just went along saying, fun, because I liked her and Masti and everything. And then my friends from college, honestly, honest to God, this is the truth. I was completely aimless. I didn't know what I wanted to do. They said that you will, they put together my portfolio for the Mass Communication Research Center at Jamia. And they said, just go do the interview and the test and, it'll be fabulous and everything. And I just, because I was so sick of them being after my life, I gave it. And I got through and then it was it. So we didn't know there was going to be television journalism when we started. I did a course in media where I did everything. By the way, I loved radio. I still love radio. Sanjay thinks I'm a terrible photographer, but I did photography. I did a lot of camera. So I love all of that. And I didn't know I was going to get into this. It just happened, so there was, honestly, there's no active thought that went into it. With me, it just happened.
Yes, Kirti, I'm just a very good photographer.
Yeah.
I don't need to, yes. That Manika also agrees to.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Aman, we'll come back to you if a person is there who hasn't asked a question. Kirti, you have a question?
Sir, me.
Yes, Kirti. Wait a minute. Kirti, okay, Khushbu, after Kirti, you.
Okay.
Kirti, go ahead.
Ma'am, hi, ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am, have you ever felt biasness or favoritism towards political journalism ever in your career? Because you're a lifestyle journalist and political journalists are given priority. Have you ever felt?
Yes, you're right. I don't think they're given priority, but I think there is so much politics in this country. You know, honestly, I like politics. I enjoy it. I love especially the historical context of everything. But, you know, Sanjay was doing so much political journalism that somehow I never really got into it. I enjoyed it. I've done it. But I didn't. I did a lot of what is called human interest stories, but newsy. So I did a lot of stuff. You know, the Narmada Bachao Andolan. I did a lot of you know, covering natural disasters, the earthquakes, and all of that. But no, I didn't really. You know, in fact, it's very strange. Is after I became an editor, I've been doing a lot more politics than I did when I was a reporter. So yeah, no, not really. But you know, if you enjoy politics, it's great. It's great, but you need to enjoy it. And remember, well, all journalism is tough because it depends on how much access you have. But political journalism is great fun.
Khushbu.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
So, ma'am, Sanjay sir always taught us that we, like, as a journalist, we are supposed to ask questions and ask the government who is in power. But nowadays, we see that media are not questioning the government. So why is this happening?
Well, because a certain section of the media only has a bias, has an agenda, wants to only support the government no matter what they do. And it's completely wrong. And the question, remember, there are 4 pillars to any establishment, right? There is the executive, the legislature, the judiciary, and, you know, you are the 4th pillar. You're the 4th estate. Your job is to question the government because we work for the people. We don't work for the government. We work for the people who the government is governing. So you have to question the government on everything. And that's just the way it should be, because if you're not questioning the government, you know, you're just absolutely failing. And, you know, I just want to say something, which I tell everybody. I don't just tell my reporters, but I tell everybody. And remember this in life, the government is like a service provider. You know, we have this whole concept in our hearts because we just always get in awe of a minister, and you know, we're like, you know, this whole feeling, my God, why? They're government servants. The government is like a service provider. If tomorrow the Airtel guy comes, you know, you're not going to serve him. You'll say, "Mera internet connection theek kar." You know, that's the thing, and that's the tone you should have. These are people who are there working for you, and they should be accountable and answerable to you. So if you don't have roads, you don't have electricity, but I think a lot of responsibility is also not just in all of us or journalists, it's on people of this country. We just don't question enough. We're forever in awe. It's this very my-baap culture. You know, mera MLA, mera MP, you know, my God, mera kaam karwa dega. It shouldn't be that. They should do your work. And if they don't, they should be out. So as journalists, your foremost duty is to question the government. Question everybody, actually. Why just the government? Question the corporates. Question the film stars. Question whosoever is a public figure. They need to be questioned. But I think as people too, we need to question.
We'll come to all of you. Sanskar, yes, go ahead.
Ma'am, my question is, what steps are NDTV taking to stop the spread of infodemic? as we know that fake news at large and people are sort of believing in fake news. So what step is media taking to stop that spread?
Again, I don't know what steps media is taking as such. You do know that there are these, websites like Alt News and Boom, who actually actively fact check news that is put out. We at NDTV are trying every night to actually take an issue, whatever it is, whether it is that is the coronavirus and airborne disease. Should you be wearing masks? What about the situation of the migrants? And we take that and we actively do a show on it where whatever we put out is extremely factual. We back it up with sources. So I think that's what NDTV is doing. But I think largely you have websites that are fact checking if you take the media as an overall. But yes, if you look at television channels, I don't think they're doing. I think some of them are actively spreading fake news. So
Divya has a very important question. Divya, I think she has a networking problem. So she has written this question. Does networking gives an advantage in getting a job in this field?
I think networking gives you an advantage anywhere getting a job in any field. There's been this massive debate in Bollywood as far as nepotism goes. And fact of the matter is that I think in any field, what is important is access. So it's not that you will get the job or in Bollywood, you will become a success or here you'll become a great reporter or a great anchor. But I think if you have access, it just makes it easier.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am, my question is that now the lockdown is getting over. After 8 days, lockdown will be it will get over. What do you think? This lockdown will again it will continue, or it will just stop it till here only? Because the condition now due to coronavirus, the deaths are increasing. It's increasing all over the country, and it's it's a bit dangerous. So what do you think is what PM will do? He will increase this lockdown, or he will end it till here?
I don't think except the PM, anyone knows what the PM will do, Ankita, but I think the lockdown is going to continue. I don't think it is going to stop. I think they may have they'll have a little period where there'll be staggered relaxation. I don't know what the staggered relaxation will be. Maybe they'll allow certain flights because there are still people stranded, so on a case-by-case basis, they may allow flights. They may allow some trains or buses interstate. I don't think they're going to end the lockdown, which quite frankly, I think will be the sensible thing to do. Singapore has gone down into a lockdown for a month. Such a small country and still they've locked down. I think we should stay locked down. I know it's terrible and it's exhausting mentally, physically, emotionally. But if we've got to contain this, we have to stay locked down because there is honestly no other way out of it. We are just too many. The density of population in our country is just far too much for us to sort of believe that even with staggered relaxation, if people are out, they will maintain a social distance. They won't. I mean, look at our slums, look at places like Dharavi and all. People are so densely packed that if the lockdown ends, this disease will spread. So yes, there could be a small period of 3 or 4 days where there could be staggered relaxations for things that are absolutely important. For instance, in tier 2 cities, people have to go to, some people don't charge their phones online. They go to shops. So maybe something like that for businesses to make payrolls, to pay salaries, stuff like that. But your college isn't opening anytime soon. Sorry, but none of this. Educational institutes are going to remain shut. I think offices, work from home is a new reality. We all have to continue doing it for some time.
Public transport will not open. I have a feeling trains and buses will not open. Goods transport would be done. so that people have enough things to, cater to their needs. Okay, next question. Okay, Vignesh. Vignesh hasn't asked. Vignesh, come on, go ahead.
I wanted to ask that in the upcoming days, can web journalism overpower the broadcast journalism?
Web journalism overpower broadcast journalism?
I think it already has, Vignesh, no? I mean, most of you, I bet, get your news off your mobiles, right? I think it already has. But you know what's very interesting, Vignesh, is that whether you say it's because of age, but policymakers still look at TV, to see what debates are on. Yes, they get very influenced by social media, things like Twitter and all of that. But a lot of, people who are making the decisions, whether it's your ministers or XYZ, they still come to prominent news channels to see what the take on things is, what's the thing. But I think web journalism has overtaken broadcast journalism. Interestingly, what it hasn't overtaken, and which is why I think TV continues, is that if you go to an advertiser even today, what he or she will pay you for 10 minutes on TV, they will not pay you the same amount on the web, which is bizarre because, and I have sat down with, people and said, guess what, on the web, there'll be 1 million views, while TV will not give you that much. But for whatever it is, the revenue on the web has not caught up with revenue on TV, which is why I think for whatever reason, TV still holds that place of pride.
Okay, I have a question from Akansha Sharma. Wait a minute. And it's come on chat. Good morning, ma'am. Can you please describe the 3 best qualities of your writing style?
My writing style? I don't know if I have a style, but I write very informally. I tell a story. Very often I tell stories that my kids are very embarrassed by, and they're constantly. Again, I don't know about my writing style, but I would ask you all that when you write, I said this to someone, write from your heart, but for everything that you report on or you see, have empathy. And the reason I say that is because if you can't feel for the story or for the person you're reporting on, somewhere, and I'm not saying lose balance, I'm just saying you have to be empathetic. And if you can't feel that, you'll miss out on the soul of the story, the core of the story. And then your writing becomes very listless, it becomes formal, it becomes very factual, and it shouldn't be. It should really come from within.
I want to say, Akansha, that your platform decides how you write. So when you're writing for broadcast, you're writing on visual, so it's different. When you're writing for digital, it's different. You're writing for print, it's different, right? So your platform will decide, but yes, it's important that you have a style so that people start identifying you by your style. That's it. Yeah. Okay.
So
one last 2 questions. Okay. Okay, Arush, go ahead.
Yeah. Ma'am, having such a big following, such a big fan following, do celebrities have a duty to have their say on certain things the government does? It doesn't matter if it's for or it's against. Like, as a matter of fact, we know what happened with Deepika Padukone when she came up to support Aishi Ghosh, and not really support, just to be with her at that time. And at the same time, Akshay Kumar taking a non-political interview of PM Modi. So do celebrities should have a duty upon themselves?
Okay, Arush, very good examples. Both examples are brilliant.
Okay. No, good question also. I actually don't think celebrities have a duty, and I don't think they should. It's a very alternative point of view, because I know a lot of people think that if you're in public life, you must. But honestly, why should an actor or a sports person comment on everything? They didn't become actors or sports people or business people, for that matter, to comment. They came there to do a certain job. They're doing it. If they decide to do it, that's their choice as well. But I don't think there has to be this forced responsibility, and I don't think there should be. If someone wants to maintain a life where they want to not comment on things, it's fine. I mean, very often when we're at places where, you know, a discussion is going on, not all of us jump into that conversation. We choose to be quiet. We choose not to. And, you know, quite frankly, why should everyone have an opinion on everything? Not all of us, and especially with celebrities, they're not always extremely well informed. For instance, people speaking about Kashmir. Kashmir is the most layered topic. It's the most complex issue. Anybody coming and saying, I support it or not support it, that's actually bizarre without really understanding the issue. So Deepika, what she did is her choice. Fantastic for her.
Yes.
What Akshay, what he did was his choice. Good for him. You can like it, you can dislike it, you can agree with it, you can disagree with it, you can criticize it, you can appreciate it. That's your choice. But I don't think anybody should be forced to have an opinion, or anybody has to have an opinion.
So, ma'am, as you were telling Arish that you are, I mean, NTV is not being invited to many government meetings. Am I audible?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. So, does it? I mean, does it make a result in you missing out on a lot of information that government is passing on? And
Yeah,
how difficult
sometimes-
is? And how
Sometimes
difficult?
you do. Sometimes you do. But you know, now one has developed enough sources within the government, within journalists who've attended that meeting, that somewhere you get it. You may get it later. You definitely get it later than everyone else, but you get it. So yes, you do miss out on the initial aspect of it, but you do get it.
So does it result in making you miss out on a breaking news or something?
Oh, well, it doesn't make you miss out. It will make you miss out in terms of the timing. For instance, Times Now may get it 5 minutes before you. Yes, for sure.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yeah, Kusum.
Ma'am, as you said about writing before, that we should always express what we believe in and we should write about it. But there are certain times, because I used to write a lot of viewpoints on my own blog, and there was this time that I was badly trolled on Twitter. It was so bad that, you know, I had to remove the blog because I was so heavily attacked, and then I stopped writing my own opinion on political stories. But there was a time, you know, during the CAA or many other issues, I felt that I should have written. Now that I look back, ma'am, so how do you know, in this case where I fight my gut that whether I should write it or not, how to make a decision in that case?
Kusum, right. Don't ever bother about the trolls. Don't, you know, I have been threatened with rape and death and God knows what. In fact, you know, I used to fight earlier, then I've just stopped fighting. If it gets really bad, block those people out. But never, why should you give up? These are people, again, Sanjay says this very rightly to me, these are people who are getting paid to write these nasty things. These are, you know, some 4 people sitting in a dark room back of Beyond or somewhere, you know, in shift 6 to 3 and 3 to 12, who are only doing this. So fighting with them, you're never going to win, right? The only way that you'll win is that you keep doing what you're doing. So don't ever get bothered by trolls. They mean nothing. These are faceless people getting paid to do a horrible job. Sometimes I don't even blame them, because I suppose they're unemployed and they didn't get anything else, you know, poor people or whatever. So this is what they're doing. Why bother? I mean, you know, feel pity for them, but don't give up your writing. Write. That's the way you'll win. You'll have enough supporters as well. So don't.
Ma'am, when we talk about television journalism, I was reading a communication mix strategy when it comes to advertising and PR. Whenever we are launching a product or something, still 75% of the times, television is, considered that this is the place which will grab maximum attention. So, like you were talking about that, how online media is rising. Do you think that it can still have that much impact as television? Because I get it, we all have our phones and everything, but at the end of the day, many people still in India, sit in front of a TV and watch. So how do you think that dynamic is going to change?
So like I said, even in that conversation, that it's a very interesting irony in India today that revenue for online has not matched up for revenue for TV. That's a fact. But having said that, I think it will. Not in the next year, not in the next 2 years, not in the next 5 years. But look what is happening today. Everything currently is digital. Okay. Everything currently is digital. So, it'll be very interesting to see when we actually finally emerge from this lockdown. What are things going to be like? Everybody currently is watching Netflix and Amazon. It's a subscription-based platform right now. Will they start advertising? Right? So it's going to be very interesting to see what strategies come out of this lockdown, because I think this is not just a test case for human beings, on how we behave and how we look after our environment, but a test case for businesses everywhere and what strategy will be, and what's going to come out of it. But just to get back to your thing about why 70% of advertising is still on television, 70% of advertising is on television. It's not on news television. It is on GECs, that's general entertainment channels. It's on sports channels, because you still can't match up to an India T20 match, right? It's going to get huge number of eyeballs. You're not going to match up to a Big Boss, right? It's still going to get huge number of eyeballs. So yes, 70% of advertising is on TV. It's not on news TV. We get a very small percentage of it. But yes, because TV is still, let's say in tier 2 cities of India or even villages in India, they still haven't gone on to your digital platforms, right? Their TV is still a family thing. So, the entire family will sit at a certain time and watch. Like nowadays, I'm sure a lot of families are watching Ramayan, which is being rerun again, right? So it is that. But I think the future, I still think, is the web.
Okay. I will take a question. Shishi, will come back to you. I'll take a question. Priya is not here. Priya from third year, but she had sent me a question. How would you handle a hostile or uncooperative interview?
Politely, with humor, and firmly. I think you can never get hassled about someone being rude to you on air. You have to be firm. You have to be polite. You have to be armed with facts, most importantly, which is why preparation is very important. Because if someone is saying something to you, you can't just react by saying you're wrong. You have to sort of contradict them with the actual fact and source the fact. So if someone is saying, X number of people died because of whatever, you have to say, no, it didn't. These people, it was actually this number, and this was released by the state government or the local police or whatever, and source it. And you have to have a sense of humor. I think in life, you need to, have a sense of humor and not take yourself so seriously. Because again, like I said, on air, getting hassled, getting angry, getting hysterical leads to nothing. You become the drama, the story, and that should never be the case anyway. So,
Shishi,
last question, please.
Yes,
yeah.
Ma'am, my question is that, as you have said that many news channels are spreading hatreds. So yesterday I have seen one tweet from Z News from Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand. So they have said that the doctors team went to Tablighi Jamaat people, and they have done stone pelting on them. in Faridabad. Later on, Faridabad police has retweeted on their tweet only that this is fake and please take it off and don't spread like this. So what news channels are getting by spreading these kind of hatreds?
It's an
What
agenda.
is their benefit?
It's an
No, not
agenda.
This is Shishti.
Oh, sorry.
This is Shishti.
Srishi, sorry. It's an agenda. It's an agenda. They have decided that Muslims or Islam will be the villain in everything, right? So they are perpetually following an agenda. Sometimes it works because it is, pro the government, because the government is a certain right-wing Hindu government. It works for them because a certain number of people in this country, actually many, believe that and they retain their following. It's almost like a political party, right? A certain political party will cater to a certain group of people because that group of people will vote for them. Now, these television channels have become like those political parties that only cater for that audience that watches them. So no matter what the news will be, they will give it that slant. There is no why in it. They're doing it for an agenda. They're doing it to retain their viewing audience. They're also supposedly, doing it because the government will still stay happy with them and their revenues will continue to be on the up. So.
Okay, so Manika has to go to office, so let's thank her. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Stay safe, stay healthy.
Yes, ma'am, you too.
You too, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.